Welcome to Fantasia, home of the Melodious. My name's Azallea, and today, gonna be bringing you guys another update to my Melodious deck. So without any further ado, let's just jump right into this. So starting off with the Melodious monsters, we are going to be playing one copy of Aria, the Melodious Diva, 3 copies of Soprano, the Melodious Songstress, and also 3 copies of Canon, the Melodious Diva. Now these are the only Melodious monsters that I run in this deck because of the fact that they are searchable and you can easily recover them back from the graveyard in this build. One copy of Aria is here as a tech to kind of accompany the Soprano as a normal summon, mostly because of the fact that you need to have another Melodious monster on your side of the field in order to special summon Canon from your hand. So Aria does fill in that role when she is needed, but of course we're running 3 copies of Soprano because she is the most important one in this build. She allows us to recover Melodious monsters from the graveyard, namely Canon, and she also allows us to access our fusions. So she is definitely one of the more resourceful Melodious monsters that are out there. And we run 3 copies of Canon and not Sonata because Canon does allow us to go into rank 4 plays, which is actually pretty useful in this deck for toolboxing out of certain situations, so there is that. But yeah, this seems like it's not a lot of Melodious monsters, but this is a very streamlined deck, and it's very, very consistent, or at least it was built for consistency. So yeah, that's all the Melodious monsters that we're actually going to be playing. So next off, we're going to go into the ritual components of the deck. The deck revolves a lot around recycling things from the graveyard and then just generating advantage over time. So we are playing 3 copies of Saphira, Queen of Dragons, and we are also playing 3 copies of Cyber Angel Ben 10. And then accompanying that, we're also playing 1 copy of Sarvis, the Ancient and Ascended. So 3 copies of Saphira are very self-explanatory. This is a very Saphira-oriented deck. And Saphira being a level 6, you can also tribute Ben 10 as fodder, and when Ben 10 is tributed for the ritual summon, you can go ahead and search for a light fairy type monster, which all of your Melodious monsters just happen to be. So if you ever open up with like a Soprano or a Canon, you can always search out the missing piece, and then you can easily access, you know, Shiberta or anything that you would like. Now, Saphira also has the effect where she can help you draw 2 cards and discard 1. You can discard a random card from your opponent's hand, or you can add 1 light monster from your graveyard back to your hand. Most of the time, you're going to be drawing 2 cards and discarding 1. Mid to late game, you might want to start considering adding light monsters from your graveyard back to your hand. But if you're ever in a situation where you're just really, really well situated, you can start discarding cards from your opponent's hand as well, as long as they're, well, not playing a graveyard-reliant deck, right? But yeah, this is a really good engine to help search out your cards and to help put some pressure on the field. Saphira especially, because she is very difficult to get rid of, especially with Sarvis, which Sarvis is a really nice tech because the fact that you can search it with like Preparation of Rites and Ritual Sanctuary, and he can protect your monsters from targeting effects. So you can negate any effect that targets your monsters. It doesn't destroy the card or anything, but it just negates the targeting effect, so it's pretty nice. Especially with things like Castel and stuff being very common outs for something like Saphira, is just pretty good. Alright, but yeah, that does it for the ritual monsters, and next off we're just going to go into some of the hand traps that we play. Okay, so for the hand traps, we were playing 1 copy of Honest, of course, because Honest helps us attack over some of the bigger monsters in the game. Saphira being our most consistent form of a boss monster with 2500 attack, it's usually not enough in some situations, so having ways to boost our attack points is definitely very nice. We're also playing 2 copies of Effect Veiler, and also we're playing 3 copies of Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit. These are really good hand traps in this format right now, especially Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is starting to come back into play because of the fact that we see things like Heavy Metal Foes Electromite and things like that, where you can just easily throw down a Veiler, negate its effects, so your opponent can't, you know, add a monster from their main deck to the extra deck. They can't pop a scale and draw a card, and then potentially Astrograph Sorcerer after that, and just snowball their advantage, right? This puts a halt to their plays, and it's pretty good. We're only running 2 of these. We're running 3 Ghost Ogres though. Ghost Ogre is still fantastic as a card, especially because the fact that, you know, you just blow things up. It destroys things. It gets rid of bodies on the field so that you can maintain field presence. But the other thing is that all 3 of these are light monsters: Honest, Effect Veiler, and Ghost Ogre. So if you ever discard or send a light monster from your hand to the graveyard, Saphira can activate her effect during the end phase of the turn. You know, draw cards, discard cards from your opponent, or recover cards from your graveyard. So the purpose of this build is actually to just revolve around Honest, Effect Veiler, and Ghost Ogre to kind of hinder your opponent's turns, right? You can keep recycling these cards back from your graveyard, just adding it back with Saphra from the graveyard back to your hand, while you maintain board presence with your Saphra and Shiberta. Shiberta, of course, be able to control the graveyard, but we'll get to that when we get to the extra deck. But yeah, this is a really solid ratio of cards. If you have Ash Blossoms, of course, you can play those, but just keep in mind that you can't recycle her because she is a fire attribute monster, not a light. Okay, so next off, we're going to go into the spell cards. So for the spell cards, we're starting off with 3 copies of Ritual Sanctuary. Of course, because Ritual Sanctuary is probably the most important card, a spell card in this deck, because it acts as a monster reborn, so you can shuffle spell cards from your graveyard back to the deck to revive things like your Soprano. Soprano can add cannon back, all that good stuff. And to accompany that, because we need more spell cards in the graveyard, and for consistency reasons, we're running 3 copies of Terraforming to search out that Ritual Sanctuary as fast as possible. Now, speaking of searching, this deck actually does play a lot of search cards, especially with the huge boost to rituals on the recent ban list. So we're playing 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites. This helps you get your Hymn of Light and your Saphra out from your deck. It's basically a +1. It's very, very powerful, and you want to see it in your opening hand. But we also really like to see Preparation of Rites, which, luckily enough, went to 3 on the most recent ban list. So 3 copies of Preparation of Rites and 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites makes it so that this deck is so consistent. It's incredible being able to search your Melodious monsters and be able to toolbox whatever you need. So Preparation of Rites can help you search out your Ben 10 and your Saravis. Of course, Ritual Sanctuary can do that as well, but Ritual Sanctuary has a cost where you have to kind of discard a spell card. But yeah, Preparation of Rites is fantastic, and of course these also fuel your graveyard with spell cards so your Ritual Sanctuary can use them to bring things back. Now for a ritual spell, we're just playing 3 copies of Hymn of Light. This is pretty self-explanatory because we are playing Saphra, so this is Saphra's ritual spell, and it's really good because it protects your ritual monsters from destruction. So by battle or by card effects, you just banish this card from your graveyard instead. Not a lot of people like reading cards, so you might be able to get away with like stalling out a battle phase or something like that with this card in the grave. It's really nice. But yeah, that's it for the 3 ofs of these spell cards. And next off, I'm going to go into some of the other techs that I run. Okay, so for the techs that I run, I play 2 copies of Scapegoat. Scapegoat, of course, fantastic for token generation, and it's great for helping you get bodies onto your side of the field to help you go for link monsters. So I find 2 copies is enough because, again, you can always recycle it with Ritual Sanctuary, so you always have the potential of drawing back into it. And because we have so much searching in this deck with like Pre-Preparation of Rites, Preparation of Rites, Ritual Sanctuary, Ben 10, all this good stuff, and Saphra being able to deep draw into your deck for you, you're going to be seeing Scapegoat pretty often. You just don't want to see it in multiples because, of course, you can only activate 1 a turn. So there's that. The next card that I play is going to be 1 copy of Monster Reborn. This card is fantastic. One of my favorite cards to come off of the ban list, actually. It is so good in this deck because not only because you can just shuffle this from the graveyard back into your deck and potentially draw into it again, but it gives you a lot more plays during your turn. You can just instantly revive Soprano. You don't have to set up your graveyard with enough spells. Revive Soprano, you can even revive Shiberta mid to late game if you've already have one in your graveyard. Revive your Link monsters, revive Saphra if she's ever attacked over and you don't have any more Hymn of Light to protect her with. You just let her go to the graveyard and just bring her back. It is such an amazing card. I just can't stress enough how amazing this card is. But again, yeah, moving on. We're playing 1 copy of Raigeki for the board wipes. Like I mentioned earlier, Saphra's 2500. A lot of Link monsters are easily 2500 or higher, so it's nice to be able to, have something that's not honest to be able to wipe out our opponent's board with. But yeah, these are it for my techs, essentially. And next off, we're just going to 1 little special, little secret card that I run this deck. Okay, so the last few cards that I'm playing are actually going to be one of my secret techs for the deck, and this is going to start off with 3 copies of Obliterate. I know, it just seems insane, but for those of you who aren't used to this, I'll explain how it works. So, with 3 copies of Obliterate, you also play 3 copies of Contract with Exodia, and in this deck, you want to have spell cards in your graveyard, and Obliterate can send Contract with Exodia to the graveyard to give you kind of like a compulsory evacuation device effect. effect. So you basically get to target a monster on the field. It doesn't even have to be your opponent's, it could be your own if you want to recycle things back to your hand. And then you just return it back to the hand by sending an Exodia card from your deck to the graveyard. Contract with Exodia being one of the best targets in this build. Because of the fact that you can fuel your Ritual Sanctuary with this card, and then Ritual Sanctuary can shuffle these Contract with Exodias back into your deck, refueling your Obliterate. So basically every turn you get to compulse a monster from your opponent's side of the field back to their hand. It gives you so much field control, it is absolutely insane. If they cannot get rid of Obliterate, they're going to have a very difficult time winning the duel. I mean, Obliterate even bypasses things like Borreload Dragon. Borreload can't be targeted by monster effects, but with Trap card, yeah, you're very easily going to be able to out it. And because it is already face up on the side of the field, most cards with negation can negate spell and trap card activations, but not actually the spell and trap card effects that are already on your side of the field. So having Obliterate means you can bypass things like Herald of Perfection and all that good stuff. So it is such a versatile tech card. Highly recommend you try it out for yourself if you don't believe me about how good it is. But yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So yeah, this is going to be it for the main deck. Next off, we're going to go into the extra deck. Okay, so for the extra deck, starting off, we're playing one copy of Link Spider. So Link Spider is really only here for the scapegoat tokens. You just use a token, make Link Spider, has a down arrow, puts additional damage on the field, all that good stuff. Now we're also playing one copy of Underclock Taker. Underclock Taker also has a down arrow, but its main purpose in this deck is actually to just clear up your extra monster zone. If you have a Shiberta that's already used her effect, or XYZ monsters that don't have any more materials, they're just kind of sitting there clogging your field. You can easily go ahead and make Underclock Taker, and then it has a down arrow, so that under it you can go for your other potential extra deck plays. So it also has the effect where it can lower like a opponent's monster's attack value, which is kind of nice because then it helps you attack over things without the help of Honest. So that's also pretty nice. Next off, we're also playing some monsters with some side arrows. They don't really come up too often unless you have Scapegoat. But we're playing one copy of Proxy Dragon and one copy of Ib. They're mostly just to try to help you protect your field a little bit. Of course, if you make Link Spider, you have 3 more tokens left over. You can make Proxy Dragon under the Link Spider, and as long as Proxy Dragon is pointing to a token, it can actually help you save some of your cards from destruction effects, which is kind of nice. And then Ib, of course, is just really nice because she has 1800 attack points, which is not that bad. It can help you get some good damage in, and she's also just has built-in protection, and she can also destroy herself in order to protect some of your other cards as well. So that's always not that bad. Next off, we're also playing one copy of Gaia Saber, the Lightning Shadow. He serves a very similar purpose as Underclock Taker, it's just to help you free up your extra monster zones. If you have Scapegoat and you activate it, you get 4 tokens, and you had a monster in your extra monster zone, you can use the monster in your extra monster zone and 2 of your tokens to go ahead and summon Gaia Saber. He also has a down arrow, so under it, maybe you could use 2 of the tokens to make Proxy Dragon. Opens up some more zones, so it opens up more plays for you. It's not that bad overall. Of course, it doesn't really come up outside of Scapegoat plays, but yeah, most of the Link monsters are just basically here to support Scapegoat. The next card that we play is going to be one copy of Saryuja. Saryuja is amazing because the fact that we can just draw 4 cards, and you just put the 3 that you don't really need into the bottom of your deck, but usually you're going to draw into things like Preparation of Rites, Pre-Preparation of Rites, and things like that can help really fuel your power plays and give you a very explosive turn. Being able to special summon a monster from your hand to your side of the field is also pretty nice. If you summon a Soprano, you can add Cannon back to your hand, and then just keep going from there. Continue on with your combos. And of course, we're playing one copy of Borreload Dragon. I don't have either of these cards, which is quite unfortunate because they're just spiking in price. But Borreload is really nice because, of course, you can just attack into your opponent's things and take it. Usually monsters that you can't normally attack over without the help of Honest, you can kind of use against your opponent, so it's not that bad. But yeah, that's basically it for all the Link monsters. Next off, we're going to go into some of the XYZs and some of our fusions as well. Okay, so starting off with the XYZs, we're playing one copy of Bujinte Tsukiyomi. Because of the fact that this deck can easily have a lot of draw power in the form of Saphra, having some more on top of that with Bujinte Tsukiyomi is never bad. If you open up subpar, let's say you open up with like a couple Melodious monsters and maybe, Contract with Exodia or something you don't really want in your hand, you can always make Tsukiyomi, just pitch it to the grave. Of course, you can set whatever you need, pitch the rest to the grave, and then draw 2 cards. It's always pretty nice. And of course, if you're pitching a lot of spell cards and things, you're helping fuel Ritual Sanctuary anyway, so win-win situation. Next off, we're playing one copy of Fairy Cheer Girl. Same reasoning behind it. You just want to kind of deep draw into your deck. Sometimes, you know, you're just missing one key card, maybe a Hymn of Light, maybe a Pre-Preparation of Rites. And you can maybe get lucky with that with Fairy Cheer Girl. It's just not bad. Both these cards are light, of course, so you can use them with Honest as well. So even though they have relatively low attack points compared to some of the other easily accessible Link monsters in the game, you can just always defend yourself with that. We're playing one copy of Baguska, kind of just helping you stall out the game if you ever need it. Tornado Dragon for popping spells and trap cards, which is never too bad. Because we're not main decking any spell and trap removal, you can always side those. I tend to do that in this deck. And then we're playing one copy of Utopia and one copy of Utopia Lightning. So, of course, this is, again, this deck kind of has a hard time getting over big, beefy monsters without Honest. So having something like Utopia Lightning is just very useful for helping you toolbox out of difficult situations. So that's why I just really like having access to it. Alright, that does it for the XYZs. Next off, we're going to go into the fusions, which is a very simple lineup. We're only playing 2 copies of Shiberta, and Shiberta is just absolutely amazing in this deck. Acts as Graveyard Disruption. It's very easily revivable from the graveyard with Monster Reborn. You can also shuffle 6 spell cards from your graveyard back into the deck with Ritual Sanctuary to bring this back from the graveyard if you really want to. So that's also nice. But you can always put it back into your extra deck with Soprano as well, and she's just really good Graveyard Disruption against all those graveyard-based decks. But yeah, that does it for the extra deck, and that does it for the deck profile. So thank you all so much for watching this video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it or found it helpful, please leave a like, subscribe for more Melodious content, and leave a comment down below letting me know what I can do to improve. And until next time, take care.